بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلوات الله وسلامه على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين آمين. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. اللهم أعني على ذكرك، اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك يا رب الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Hayakumullah. Righty-ho then, ladies and gentlemen, this of course is the first of the summer lessons, and each lesson is going to obviously get later for a little while. So next week, Maghrib here in Manchester is around 8 o'clock, and obviously that will differ for people in the UK. Our dars is after Manchester Maghrib. And as for those folks online, then your rough rule of thumb, there will be a schedule that will be going up today. It just couldn't go up, there was a little problem, and so we couldn't put it up, but it will go up this week inshallah, so you can see that in the resources tab. But the start time of the dars will roughly be about 20-25 minutes after Maghrib, so you're looking next week around the 8:25 mark, something like that, okay, around the 8:25 mark, plus minus 5 minutes. Righty-ho. So today, the reason why today is a important lesson is today I'm going to teach you how to make ghusl, the actual way of making a ghusl, which is of course an important aspect of the life of the Muslim, naturally. So, right, okay then. The last thing that I think we mentioned was talking about the two niyyah, about the importance of having a niyyah, not just for the action itself, that we know that the action niyyatul amal wa niyyatul ma'mul lahu. So number one, to have an action of knowing that this is the specific ghusl for janaba, ghusl for jum'ah, ghusl for Eid, yani a focus on that the technical kind of aspect. And I guess like what I was talking about today, I wrote something today actually on Facebook, something similar, that a lot of the people, they get kind of lost in the means, they get lost in the method, and they forget the objective. So we talked about this last week, that the niyyah of al-ma'mul lahu Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this is taqarrub ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you something, I was thinking about this today, that when you generally think about Muslims and, or if you generally think about the religion and how some people can get lost in the academia and lose their spirituality. So the normal kind of example which is given, which is what the current controversy is all about at the moment, is the issue of aqidah. And so there will be people that will study aqidah in a very dry and very technical way, in a very rote way, with a number of conditions and a number of prerequisites and other obligations, and there are 9 aspects to the kalima, and there are 7 conditions of this, and there are 12 conditions of that. They make up all these kind of numbers, and they are made up because they're subjective opinions of scholars. They're made up, they're obviously based upon the evidences, and they're based upon the teachers themselves, scholars throughout time, saying, how do I present this information to these people in an easier way? So you can understand why they did that. The problem is that the student then gets lost in the 7s and the 9s and the 12s. They're busy memorizing the 7s and the 9s and the 12s and saying that the conditions of the shahada are this, that, this, and they forget the actual meaning of the shahada. They forget to live the shahada. They forget to become someone that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts through them this blessing, so when they walk in the streets, that a person can see this is a person of shahada. This is a person who lives la ilaha illallah. It's a subtle point. And there is a corollary here as well, in that we do lots of different acts, and we're now going to describe an act which has got so much detail. This is the complete ghusl. Do this intention, say bismillah, do this, that. And so our focus is so very much on the actual, got to tick boxes, that sometimes we forget, this is taqarrub ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is to actually get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's no other chapter which you see this as clearly as you do than in wudu. In wudu itself, you really kind of feel this. Because you'll see at the end of this chapter, that there will be a person who's in a state of janaba, and we know that the only way that you can lift that ritual state of impurity, hadath, the only way you can get rid of it is to do what? Ghusl. Yet the Prophet ﷺ is recommending wudu, and you'll see the companions, they're always making wudu before sleep, before eating, before marital relations, etc., etc. And you'd ask yourself why. And the reason is purely ibadah, taqarrub ilallah. They actually want to be purer. They want to put some more effort in for the sake of Allah. I want you to imagine going to the bathroom and making wudu when you could just make ghusl. There's clearly, especially in our time, especially in their time, you think now how little the water was, how difficult it was. You'd have thought that just get over and done with. But it's more than that. The niyyah is more than just the technical nature of the action. There's a desire to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If that desire is not there, then your academia and your memorization has not benefited you. And that's something which you need to remember. And that's what the discussion is these days about what's going on. Anyway, so al-ghusl al-kamil, a complete ghusl comprises of the following things. Number one, making the intention, then saying Bismillah, then washing the hands 3 times as well as other impure parts, then making wudu, then pouring water over the head 3 times, ensuring it wets right through, then pouring water over the body completely 3 times, rubbing clean that entire body, starting on the right hand side first each time, and then washing the feet in a different place. 9 points. 9 points which are talking about the actual ghusl, complete perfect one. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go through the text, study the kind of the technical thing which the madahib are coming with, and then I'm going to then put a practical spin on it, for today's time. Okay, alright. So in terms of so we've already done the intention. So you've made the intention, this is what I'm going to do. And I gave all the warnings about that last week, about how you got to be, how focused you got to be when you walk into a bathroom. When we walk into a bathroom, we look at, what do we see? We see shampoo, we see shower gel. These are things which are, what's the word? Anchors? Huh? Oh yeah, you go into autopilot. You see certain things and they're anchors, aren't they? You see shower gel, you think, and you like your shower gel, you like you're thinking, and so you automatically move into this kind of cleaning myself mode. And my normal nightly shower, my normal, come home from work shower, my normal my first of my 5 showers if you're Shazad, right? It doesn't matter. I don't know. Did I tell you that he showers 5 times a day? Did I mention that last week? MashaAllah, tabarakallah. 5 or is it? I know, was it you who said that I don't do that anymore? Yeah. I'm sorry, yeah. You see, I'm getting old, I can't even remember what's happening. But there are some people that shower a lot. I'm not a fan of showering a lot.
Shower 5 days disconfort in the winter time,
Not possible? No. In the winter?
5 times.
Sheikh, in the winter is the most fun shower.
Just 5 times was not actually too, but just ask him how long his last shower was.
My last shower?
Yeah.
My last shower was about 10 minutes?
And the one before that?
The one before it had to be a long one because I was hurting, I was working outside in the garden.
You see, he's complained that his water tank ran out. And he spent an hour and a half waiting for the water to get hot. Now the real men would have just nicked the cold.
No. The Sheikh was cold. It's cold. At the moment, it's 1 degree, 2 degrees in during daytime. A lot of people are thinking it's warm outside. It's not. Sheikh, a couple of days ago, I was working outside. It was cold, and it was thingy. And I went in, and the water had run out. So I had to stand there waiting for half an hour. There was no way that I was going to have a cold. But I just want to make it clear to my friends out here. I've done my time in cold showers. I've been there, done that. I've got that t-shirt. That's dealt with. You know what I'm saying? I've done my cold showers.
It's not about climbing the mountain.
It's about staying there. Allahu Akbar. When you use the words against you, then what can you do, Yara? Using my own speech against me.
Sheikh
Ihlan, same thing. Who cares about Sheikh Ihlan's speech anyway? No one hears that. They only hear it from me anyway. Right. So, that's very important, to be focused, right? So the next thing after you've made your intention is to say Bismillah. Now, I want you to understand here. التسمية على المذهب واجبة كالوضوء وليس فيها نص. Shaykh Uthaymeen reminds us of the issue of the wudu. In wudu, the Hanbalis, they say that it's obligatory to say Bismillah. And that there's not an evidence for that. There is no nas. You should be familiar with these phrases by now. There's no Quranic ayah and there's no authentic hadith that says that that's the case. And that's why the majority of the scholars consider it to be a sunnah and not an obligation. وَجِبَتْ فِي الْوُضُوء فَالْغُسْلُ مِنْ بَابِ أَوْلَى. They said that if it is obligatory, They said, if it's obligatory in the wudu, then what do you think then of ghusl? Of course it must be then in ghusl. So that's their evidence, okay? And Shaykh Uthaymeen, he says that, well, as we have said before, or وَالصَّحِيحِ كَمَا سَبَقْ, and that's why it's important to do this whole logical progression thing, right? Because this is the way that he teaches. He will say, as we said previously, as we said previously. So again, he says, as we said previously, the correct position is that it is not obligatory, it's a sunnah, and so it's sunnah in the ghusl as well. Sunnah in a ghusl as well. And also I should say that even if you said it was obligatory in wudu, we would put an argument up and say that actually ghusl and wudu are separate anyway, they're different anyway. They can't be made qiyas upon. You can't make an analogy when there's so many differences between the two. Alright, then the author says that he washes his hands 3 times, and we said already, of course, this is sunnah, and hands of course means up to the wrists, okay? Because we know that when the hand is mentioned, then that's what it means, and if it means the whole arm, then it will say ila al-marafiq, as we know in the of the ayah of wudu, okay? And that's what Shaykh Uthaymeen, he mentions here, Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 38. That's how we know that the hand is only here, whereas of course if we want it more, then go, if we want it longer, then go to Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 6, and then ila al-marafiq is mentioned. وَمَا لَوَّثَهُ. Now I want you to understand that they have said you wash the hands 3 times, sunnah. However, what if your hands are still dirty? وَمَا لَوَّثَهُ. If your hands are still dirty, and what if there are other parts of your body which are dirty? Now let me explain what is happening here. What's happening here is basically a description of 2 scenarios: either sexual impurity, janaba, or either actual physical, fecal, and urine impurity. Alright? And so the idea here is that one has gone to the toilet, for example, okay, and by using water or not, or using tissue paper or stone, or the standard kind of things we talked about before, istijmar or istinja, has not been able to clean themselves. So this is talking after that has happened. Istinja, I want you to understand, istinja and all of this has already occurred. Now like I said, I'm going to go through the text and then I'm going to give you the real life version in a minute. But in this text, istinja has already, toilet has already occurred, or janaba has occurred, janaba is now on, okay? And the person has made istinja, but they haven't been able to clean themselves in their private parts. So we're talking the thighs, we're talking on the backside, etc., etc. And that's specifically what وَمَا لَوَّثَهُ means here. So it's not just washing the hands and the private parts, but it means anywhere else, make an effort to clean it. And this is taken directly from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which, I think it was Salama. No, it was Maymuna. Maymuna. وفي حديث ميمون رضي الله عنها أن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم عند غسله ما لوثه ضرب بيده الأرض أو الحائط مرتين أو 3. Okay. والذي يظهر لي من حديث ميمونة أن الماء كان قليلا، ولذلك احتاج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يضرب الحائط بيده مرتين أو 3 ليكون أسرع في إزالة من لوثه وغسل رجليه في مكان آخر. Now the hadith, what happens in the hadith of Maymuna? The hadith in Maymuna is that after he finished going to the toilet and he cleaned himself, the floor itself, he wiped his hands on it. And some said the wall, this is like obviously clay and dust and stuff, okay? So obviously it's not, don't think of a modern toilet or anything like that. And whatever was on his body, he cleaned, and then he started the ghusl. So the question is that why did this happen? Shaykh Uthaymeen says, in my opinion, it's because there was no water. Okay? Now in our time, naturally, the meaning of this hadith will not to be wipe our hands somewhere, but it will just mean that more than 3 times we'll just carry on washing and cleaning and whatever is necessary. That's the basic meaning that we take from this. Okay? Then, وَيَتَوَضَّأ. Again, according to the text, according to the sunnah, we are sticking to the sunnah. Alright? He makes wudu. You will make wudu. Okay? Now the wudu will be the normal wudu as-salah. Okay? Not any other type of wudu. Wudu as-salah. And now we come into an issue of difference of opinion. It's a very famous difference of opinion. Alright? Because we have 2 key hadith. One is a hadith of Aisha, where another famous hadith of al-ghusl, where the two wives of the Prophet ﷺ differ in one fundamental aspect. In the first one, in Hadith Aisha, the Prophet ﷺ did the full wudu. When I say full wudu, that means washing the feet as well. Then he poured water over himself. And in the second hadith is the one that you all know. He did full wudu, but not wash the feet. Okay? And the feet then was washed right at the very, very end after ghusl. If that's confusing, I'll explain that afterwards. But I just want you to understand, okay, that there are two types of wudu being described here. Both are full wudu, but the issue is the feet. The last thing you wash is the feet. Do you wash your feet first and you say, I'm done and dusted with wudu, now I do ghusl? That is what you do according to Aisha. Or, radiallahu anha. Or do you actually do your wudu and then stop, don't wash your feet, then wash yourself, then wash your feet? That is the position of the majority, and it's the position which is well known, etc., etc., etc. And there's a reason for that. We'll come to that in a second. Okay, so washing the hands 3 times as well as other impure parts, then making wudu, and then he pours water over the entire head 3 times. And ترويه, يعني that the water تصل إلى أصوله بحيث لا يكون الماء قليلا. يعني the point is that the water, it really kind of penetrates. The whole idea is complete penetration of the water to all parts of the skin and all areas. In the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha, on page 360, which is narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, ثم يخلل بيده شعره حتى إذا ظن أنه قد أروى بشرته أفاض عليه الماء 3 مرات ثم غسل سائر جسده. It was like this. He basically prepared his head, okay, and his skin, and then when the water is poured on, he is carrying on doing this kind of process to make sure that the water is going. يخلل بيده شعره. So يخلل, we talked about this is takhleel. Remember we said combing, and so the hair is obviously being, you know, whatever this is, what's this process? Running your fingers through the hair and so on. Okay, and then the water. And Shaykh Uthaymeen mentions this here. وظاهره أن يصب عليه الماء أولا ويخلله ثم يفيد عليه بعد ذلك 3 مرات. This is very important. For me, actually, this is very important. The scholars may be considered important or not. If you look at this hadith, it seems that there's no way that he actually just did this without any water. Okay? The hadith here clearly says what? That he ﷺ did takhleel, did this kind of rubbing and putting the hands through, and then poured water 3 times, which must suggest, as Shaykh Uthaymeen says, that there was an initial pouring of water. So the water was poured first over the head, that was then, you know, combed into the head, and then after that, once the kind of, like, I guess the pores are all open and everything's out of the way, then the 3 times pouring of the sunnah occurs. And that's the reason why that's so important, is because that gives us some bit of leeway in the way that we can do our ghusl in today's time, because we have different circumstances. We'll come to that in a second. Some of the scholars though said that 3 marrat, okay, the 3 times washing of the head, does not actually mean 3 times for the head. Actually, what it means is that he poured it sallallahu alaihi wasallam upon the right hand side, and then on the left hand side, and then on the middle. So the first pouring was on the right hand side, and then it was pouring on the left hand side of the head, and then in the middle of the head. These are the 3 actual parts. Okay. فأخذ منه so this is where they understood this ruling from, and the 3 parts. Now, then pouring water over the body completely 3 times. And the evidence for this is the hadith of Aisha, and as I said, the other hadith of Maymuna radiallahu anhuma. ثم أفاض الماء على سائر جسده. Then he poured water over his entire body. Now here's where the issue comes now of important difference of opinion amongst the scholars. ثلاثة. This word 3 times. That he poured his body his water over his body sallallahu alaihi wasallam 3 times. وهذا بالقياس على الوضوء لأنه يشرع فيه التثليث وهذا هو المشهور في المذهب. This 3 times is done because it's now seen in the same way as the washing of limbs in wudu. And it's a qiyas from wudu as opposed to a specific evidence from the hadith of ghusl. Do you understand? It's a qiyas, an analogy taken from wudu, as opposed to saying that we saw the Prophet ﷺ wash himself 3 times with water on his body. We're not talking about the head now, we're talking about the body. And that's what the Hanbali madhab then ruled by. They said that this is an analogy and we accept that. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah and a number of scholars, they said no. They said that there is no 3 times washing of the body in ghusl. There's no 3 times washing of the body in ghusl. It's a big statement, that. Okay? And that's because they said there's not a single evidence from the Prophet ﷺ to establish that. The hadith says very clearly he poured water over himself. The scholars that made qiyas, we say this is a qiyas ma'al fariq. This is an analogy which is broken. That's wudu, this is ghusl. Completely different, has different rules. We cannot apply the same thing. Okay? So, therefore, class position is very clear that actually it is not 3 times over the entire body. Okay? It is pouring water over the entire body according to the sunnah. And the next one then is to then make sure that it gets into every orifice and so on. We'll come to that in a second. Whereas in the Hanbali madhab it is 3 times, and I want you to know why. Because they make qiyas. Is that clear, everybody? Okay. Then وَيَدْلُكَهُ, they do delk. And I told you about delk, if you remember back in the day in the section of wudu. What did we say? We said that delk is what the Malikiyah, they consider to be a condition when you're making wudu. And that means proper rubbing and massaging. Yeah? And that's what's definitely going to make sure that everything gets wet. Yep. So the whole body then is made delk. Remember, this is the complete ghusl. Complete, what did we say al-ghusl kamil is? We said in the last lesson, we said it includes the obligations, we said it includes the sunnah, and it includes everything above and beyond for the perfect result. Okay? This is not like a minimal ghusl, this is hardcore. Alright? So, he does all of this to make sure that the water gets to every single part of the body. Okay? And he goes, for example, if there's oil on the body, and that's very much a case, or cream or something like that, then just pouring water over the body is not going to get anything done. And you'll need to actually rub it, clean it, and move it off. If there's something physical on the body, you got some dry bits of blood or paint or X or Y, that will need to be scratched off. So the point here is that it needs to be really worked on. Now, from the companions, they used to really exaggerate. Some of them used to exaggerate in this matter. Abdullah ibn Umar, it has been authentically narrated in the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, narration number 99 in chapter 1. عن ابن عمر أنه كان يغتسل من الجنابة أدخل ماءه في عينيه فأدخل يده في سرته. هذا طبعا. Okay. So the second one, okay, is that so Ibn Umar, when he used to make ghusl from janaba, he would put the water into his eyes. Actually do that whole kind of, that crazy one. Yeah? I don't know if anyone's ever done that. It's a mission. We take madhab of Ibn Abbas. Shaykh Abdul Ghaffar says we are upon madhab of Ibn Abbas, and I have to say I agree in this matter. But the point is this, is that you remember there's differences of opinion on some things, okay? When it comes to the nostrils, comes to the eyes, the question is this from the face or not? Is the outward, is inside the nostrils, is that from the face or is that inside the body? The mouth, for example, is this inside the body or is it the external body? What is meant to actually be cleaned? There has to be a limit here, right? You can see this, we have to stop here and discuss this. The whole body has to be wetted. The whole body. Okay? However, with this concept of the whole body, there are some things that come up. We all know this. First of all, those people with long hair. I was about to say guys with long hair. That's very rare. It's women who mostly have the problem there. Secondly, we've got people who have various, different, maybe people with deformities. They have certain kind of difficult to get to areas. We have the parts of the body which are difficult anyway, or maybe you ignore. You got, when you see like very, very obese people that have huge folds, right? And of skin, maybe like a really large fold they have to then, all this kind of stuff. So the problem is like, even if you put the shower on, I mean, that's now. But I mean, back then, you've got to even imagine then, okay? So the belly button is a classic example, okay? Very few scholars will allow you to avoid the belly button. So cleaning the belly button is important, all right? The ears are important, for example, to clean the ears. And I'm not taking your thumbs, probably get your, your little fingers into your ears, top and bottom, all right? Behind the ears, you're always being told, That's another classic. What other areas? The behind the knees, behind the behind the knees, between the toes, etc., etc. These are obvious things. As I said, other people need to make sure that if they've got conditions or whatever, they need to. The issue with the hair is that the water needs to get to the scalp. It does not necessarily, for a woman, have to wet every single individual hair. And the evidence for that are a number of narrations from the companions, male companions and female companions, telling the rest of the Muslims that when it comes to janaba or comes to ghusl, then just make sure you wash your head, but you don't need to untie your braids. So if these girls have got, that kind of a class, whatever it is, and stuff, they don't need to all undo every single thing, If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't, right? So, and that can be extended to the various forms of whatever people do with their hair. The point is that the head itself is washed. The water gets through to the thingy, to the head itself. That's the most important part, and that makes it easier upon the sisters. What are the other aspects that we need to be aware of? Okay, so the issue of the mouth, it's always on the good to be on the safe side to include it, even though the debate is there, and it's not going to be solved. Some scholars said yes, some said no. Inside the nostril, for example, if we're going to say you wash it in wudu, then in washing it in ghusl should be even more than emphasized. Okay. And we know that there's a difference over the issue of the nose, but it should be nostril thing. And the eyes, for example, obviously cleaning in between the eyes there, that's expected to do in a ghusl because that's the joint where it's part of the face. But this issue of cleaning the eyes, that's an extreme position. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Abdullah ibn Umar used to do it though, okay, and that's authentically narrated from him. Actually, many kind of things like that you'll see narrated from Abdullah ibn Umar actually.
So these are the eyeball then? It's not
I'm talking about the eyeball. I'm not talking about...
So it's not considered part of the face that's facing them?
You see, the problem is this, is that the eye, you say, is it considered part of the face? Whether it's considered part of the face or not, I mean, obviously it is. Does a person wash their face with their eyes open? Normally. I like the way you said that. Sheikh, difficult, isn't it? I don't think so. No? Let's have a quick hand vote. Eyes open, put your hands up. Okay, I've always knew you as the weirdo in my family, I know.
I remember when you were young, to the river.
Yes.
If you have got some problem in your eye, something, you want to open, to drink the water. No, inside the water.
Oh, put it, actually go under, and then let the thingy go. That's true. I mean, obviously we all know, when you're told to do that. I mean, when I was young, it was the old basin, fill the basin with water, stick your head in, whatnot. Obviously you can't do it. Your mum put your head in down, sticking it like whatever, and you're dying. I mean, it's hardcore that. So the issue is not of the fact that it's of the face or not, because clearly it is of the face. The issue is what is the norm. And when we covered the chapter of wudu, we covered that. We said that it's the inside of the eyes, these parts, not the actual eyeball itself. Yeah? I mean, that's like hardcore. In fact, subhanAllah, if you wash your eyes, it is almost exclusively considered an emergency procedure. It's true, isn't it? It's normally said, when you talk about that, when the eyes are referred to in washing, I've never heard it ever referred to except in, you got chemical in there, you got something else in there, squirt into his eyes, wash his eyes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah? So it's not seen as the normative kind of action. Of course it's possible, of course some people can do it, yeah? But I don't think it's the normative action. Wallahu alam. Same way, same thing. Any hair on the body, any hair would need to be this takhleel. Yep, fingers go through, so the water goes through to the skin.
What about ear piercings?
ear piercings, you mean getting it into the actual thing itself?
I assume so. What about it?
I'm guessing that's what they mean. That's not even possible, is it? Can't walk in with a needle, stick a needle in, and then kind of,
As in, I think the point being, if they've got something inside the piercing, then it's
No. One does not need to worry about ear piercing. Yeah.
So any kind of body piercing that would cover the skin, or some people have nose piercing, so at the front of the skin would be covered by.
So obviously, the things at the front need to be removed if it's covering skin. If it's covering internal skin, so for example, there's a hole, and it's perfectly covering the hole, but not the external facing skin, then that's something different. But normally, an earring's not going to be a problem unless it's one of those, flat ones, which is covering the ear, therefore it's not taking water in, then that's a problem.
The thing is that some people, when they get a piercing and it's recent,
Yes.
then when they remove it, they risk getting an infection.
I see.
So what is it doing that
If they have a piercing and they remove it and they're going to get infection, this is God's way of saying, stop getting stupid piercings. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Yeah. You done with that, Bobs? Yeah? I'm done with that. Khalas. Yeah? Okay. So, okay. Okay, and then the right hand side. So, regardless of the manner of the washing and everything, but in terms of the areas, we start on the right hand side. Why do we start on the right hand side? Because the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam يعجبه التيمم في ترجله وتنعله وطهوره وفي شأن كله. As we covered this hadith many times, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to love to start with the right hand side in everything, every single thing. Okay, whether it is putting on the shoe, or whether it is grooming himself, whether it is the washing himself, etc., etc. So that's very clear. That covers everything. And tuhurihi means purifying himself. We don't need an evidence for ghusl because this is a general term. It covers wudu and ghusl. He didn't say wudu'ihi, he said tuhurihi, when he purifies himself. Yeah. And then this is the interesting part. According to Imam Hijawi, according to the Hanabila, you do need to get the reward of sunnah, wash your feet somewhere else. Now, well, Shaykh Uthaymeen says, what seems apparent from the author is that this seems to be like an unrestricted sunnah, meaning you just do it and you get the reward, okay? And almost as if to say that even if the place is clean, then you still need to go and wash over there, somewhere else. Now let's just quickly talk about this. The idea here, again, remember what I told you about, very little water, they have, very little. I told you, yani 4 of these, okay? Sara, that's what you've got, alright? I mean, I could have a good go of that because I've got big hands, yeah? But I've got a big body as well, you know what I'm saying, yeah? So I'm going to struggle anyway. So you're a little miskin, and you've got little tinku hands like that, yeah? Then it's going to be nothing in it, yeah? So the point is, you've got little water, you've got a dirty body, you ain't got modern day kind of surfactant, what's the word called? Not surfactant. Yes, surfactant, isn't it? What's soap? It's a surfactant. Yeah, so you haven't got these kind of soaps. The interesting thing about soaps is that they actually spread the water further. Yeah, they allow it to kind of go all over, whatever. So you don't have that, and so you don't have all of this kind of, and you don't have it. You only got one hand and pouring, and you've got so many restrictions. All right, and then you don't have a bath. You don't have porcelain. You don't have a china. You don't have any ceramic baths, and so you're normally washing on a muddy surface, earthy kind of surface. Or you're doing it in a tub, and all the gand is at the bottom, so all the filth is being washed off you, and you're standing in it. So it makes complete sense that you would then step out and then you'd wash your feet. Make sense? Okay, that's where this came from. Now the discussion amongst the scholars now is because Maymuna radiallahu anha described that the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ was that he would wash his feet somewhere else. Some scholars said, well, this was because the place was dirty. It's not a sunnah, it's because the place was dirty. Other scholars said, no, it's an actual sunnah, and it should be done regardless. Alright? Whether the place is clean or not. And that's the big debate. And Sheikh says, and this is his opinion, Shaykh Uthaymeen's, and this is also the opinion Because in the narration in Sahih Muslim, it doesn't say that the feet were washed at the end. Alright? It doesn't say the feet were washed at the end. So there is a genuine kind of discussion. Anyway, Shaykh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shanqiti and Shaykh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, they both agreed that الظاهر لي أن يغسل قدميه في مكان آخر عند الحاجة. They only need to wash your feet at the end if there is a need for it, because the place is dirty that you're washing in. Okay? And he goes, the proof as far as I'm concerned is the hadith of Aisha. In the hadith of Aisha, he didn't. Okay? And also Shaykh Uthaymeen then makes another statement where it's even more kind of controversial as far as I'm concerned. He says, and the narration which says that أنه غسل رجليه, that he then washed his feet at the end, as far as I'm concerned, this is weak. This is what Shaykh Uthaymeen said. This narration is weak. However, we should say that the hadith exists in Muslim. In Sahih Muslim there is a riwayah where he didn't wash his feet at the end, and so therefore it's not right to say, it's right to say maybe that narration is weak that said that, but it's not right to say, sorry, did I just say that in narration is narrated in Muslim that he didn't wash his feet? What I meant to say is that it is narrated in Sahih Muslim that he did wash his feet at the end, and that is not a hadith you can make weak. So this narration might be weak, but the principle isn't weak. So basically أنه غسل رجليه في حديث ميمونة فقط. Basically in the hadith of Maymuna he washes feet at the end only. Alright, now Sheikh Shazad, go to the next section. Okay. Now what I want to say to you is this, is the next statement, and that is والمجزئ, the Sheikh says, أن ينوي ويسمي ويعم بدنه بالغسل مرة. Okay, and it is sufficient however just to make the intention, then say Bismillah and wash the entire body just once. You heard that? Okay, so we heard the full version, but Shaykh is now saying, however, it is sufficient if you just want to get the job done, to make the intention, say Bismillah and wash the entire body just once. Now let's talk about this. First of all, the Bismillah point, first of all, al-mujzi'. What does mujzi' mean? That which is sufficient. If we are saying that which is sufficient, what does that mean the actions in that would be? Compulsory, good, obligatory. What do we believe about the Bismillah? It's a sunnah. So this is according to the Hanbalis. So according actually to the majority, it will be sufficient for what? Intention and wash the entire body just once. Is that cool? So let's follow up from there then. If I'm saying to you that your ghusl can be done by just making niyyah, I'm now making the intention to make ghusl and wash the body, the next question should be, what's the nature of washing? What does washing mean? Water runs over the body. You agree with that? It's not wiping and washing, whatever. It means the water runs over the body. Therefore, a person, it is completely valid for a person to just jump into a lake and with the intention that I am making ghusl of Jum'ah or of Eid or of Janaba, and come straight out and job's done. Do you understand? Doesn't have to make wudu, doesn't have to make washing, doesn't have to do 3 times, doesn't have to do X, doesn't have to do Y. Jumps into a swimming pool, jumps into a river, jumps into a vat. I don't care what he jumps into, alright? He jumps into it though, and he makes the ghusl, and then Allahu Akbar is done. Do you understand the point? Yeah? Because as we said, what does ghusl mean? It linguistically means to wash. And if you go in there, water goes all over you, job done. Obviously, might not be such a good wash compared to cleanliness standards, but I told you before, don't get mistaken by the idea that ghusl has anything to do with cleanliness. It doesn't have anything. I'm telling you, on a Friday morning, at 10 o'clock, you could wake up. Yeah? You've taken Friday off, you've woken up at Friday 10 o'clock, and you say, Wallah, I feel sweaty and this and that. I'm going to have a shower to wake myself up proper. You have a shower. and that's when you use all your shampoos and you this and your that, yeah. And then we know that the sunnah, we're going to come to this obviously in about 19 years time, I think, yeah. When we come to the chapter of Jum'ah, that it's sunnah for Jum'ah to make the ghusl as late as possible. As late as possible. Hatta Sahaba, they would walk into a Jum'ah and they would be wet still from the ghusl, to show, yeah, and it's something which is delayed. You know, the scholars, they said, when is the earliest time that you can, because a lot of people ask this question, because they're working people, isn't it? Yeah. So they say, can I, before I go to work, can I make my ghusl in the morning and then go to work, and that counts then for my Jum'ah ghusl? We say yes, with the intention, it's okay. But just about, because the sunnah, only just about, because the sunnah actually is right on the edge, like 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you know, that kind of thing. And I think even, wallahi, in the back of my head, there's a riwayah when Sayyidina Umar, and Allah knows best about the authenticity of this, but I need to check it. And I seem to remember that Sayyidina Umar was in the masjid for Jum'ah, and this man came in. You've heard it, yes? And he said, you made ghusl? He said, yeah, I made it in the morning.
Yes. No, he said ghusl, he didn't.
No, okay, so this is a different riwayah.
Yes.
Have you made ghusl?
Then he was on the member.
Yes.
He came late.
Yeah.
He said, why this time?
Yep.
Then he said, have you done the ghusl? No, I have to do something like even wudu, something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. So the narration that I know,
Yes.
on the member,
Okay.
and he said to him, you know, obviously he noticed something. He goes, you do ghusl? He goes, I did it in the morning. Meaning that I did my ghusl for Jum'ah. He made him go back, and he came back wet, soaked, yani,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Walking into masjid, just to show you that the sunnah, they were very strict upon the sunnah, you know. So I'm just saying that is something late. So clearly, I'm just saying to you, if you've made a ghusl at 10 o'clock and you're doing it again at 12, the 12 one is not about cleaning yourself with perfume, this, that, is it? Do you understand? It's a functional, spiritual thing with niyyah and water covering the entire body. And that's the most important aspect to recognize from that. Obviously, there's a lot to discuss though, is that, yeah.
Would you get the same reward?
Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. Can you get the same reward if you do that? Of course not. The mujzi is by its nature. That's why we said, why did the ulama go with the kamil first as opposed to the mujzi? Because in your mind, if I start selling to you that the mujzi, this is sufficient, yeah, and then I start telling you afterwards, this is the full one, you're already sold on the mujzi, right? You're already, you know, khalas, you know, all this, yeah, all right, inshallah. You know, it's the same. It's the same principle. Why it's the same principle. Why, you know, that the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in Eid is that when he would finish the salah, he would say to the people, "If you wish, you can stay, and if you wish, you can go," which is why we know that the khutbah is a sunnah, right? Now, most khutbah, they don't say that, because they know they say that, man's be gone them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they be out the door. So they keep the information to themselves, and then they just, you know, let the people get tortured. So the point is this: there was a time, in recent time, where I wanted to go, but there's too many people watching, too many people looking. Anyway, so the point is this: is that that's why we do the detailed one first, so that you buy into it spiritually, and then you see the kind of the sufficient one afterwards, but you're sold on the thingy. Now, what we've covered is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and what we've covered is the minimum that you can actually go and do. Alright, nice and quick, 1 minute job. Literally, in our time with the shower, it's a 1 minute job. Just, I've got to make ghusl, go in, let the water froof all over, rub every part of the body, and you're out. There's obviously no time for no soap, there's no time for anything. That's a quick one. And you're probably going to use water, you know, only about 5-6 times, you know, more than the whatever. You do a proper ghusl, you're using about 1,000 times more than the sa'a. Okay? So now let's have a quick chat about what happens in our time. We don't use buckets. Although I use a bucket, okay, but I don't have a bath anymore, okay, and I miss it, to be honest. I used to love bucket baths. Just wanted to say that, all right?
Of course you have a bath.
No,
singing, dancing,
wallah, can you believe that?
Showered,
2 and
bath.
how many years?
Upstairs, man.
How many years is it in, Shaz?
No,
Is it 3 years now?
It's not long enough for going.
Yeah, 2 years I think it's been in. 2 and a bit years, yeah? I haven't stepped in it once. I'm scared it will break.
Made in China.
Wallahi, it's not like my shower tray which is stone, you know, like I've got that heavy resin stone, you know, the one that what they call you take 6 people to pick it up. I can stand in that, no problem. I stand in that acrylic bakwas, I'm going through the ceiling, you know. Yeah, I'm saying I can't risk that. You're having a laugh, aren't you? It's expensive, it's cost me $1,000, it did. Anyway, but yeah, the buckets, people don't do it anymore, and even if they did, they wouldn't do it properly anyway. I mean, so I'm just going to base this upon the shower. Okay, let's talk about the modern day shower and how the modern day Muslim tries to do the sunnah. It is very possible to still do the sunnah. Let's take a person who is either state of janaba. Okay, let's just use a person who's state of janaba. Okay, or a person who needs to go to do Jum'ah, whatever. So he walks into the toilet. All right, he goes to the toilet and then he does istinja. Okay, he does istinja by cleaning himself. Washing himself in however many times, but keeps it odd. The sunnah is the odd number, witr. Yes, washes himself. Then he now moves into the bathtub, isn't it? He moves into the shower. And then according to this, he would then wash his hands 3 times because of the fact that he's just done istinja. And at this moment, on the first wash, you could apply soap. And you've now done this. And then you would then start making wudu under the shower. Little bit pieces here and there. At this point, if there's a bucket, you could be doing it like that as well. Or if there's a tap in your bathtub, you could be doing the ghusl as well. According to the 2 differences of opinion, you could wash your feet now, or you could wait until the end. I prefer to wait until the end. Okay, we're still talking the sunnah. And then what would happen is that you would then pour the water over your head. When you pour the water over your head, this is the time where you would be allowed to put some shampoo in, and then you could shampoo. Adhan? الآن؟ يعني ساعة و15 دقيقة.
9 الأذان then quarter past we pray.
أنت متأكد بدأت صلاة العشاء؟
صلاة العشاء. Yes.
يحتاج إلى ميكروفون؟ طيب. We're going to wait for the adhan إن شاء الله. الله أكبر Oh yeah, so if we're in that modern way, I mean, ideally, there's no shampoo or soap involved in this at all, because you've done your cleaning one. Okay, you've done your cleaning. All right, some other time. But if you had done your cleaning, your shampooing and your soaping, then this would be just pure simple. Then you would just pour the water over your head. You would then pour the water over your body, and you'd wash your feet, and it would be job done. It'd be easy. But I know, I'm guessing that people are going to try and combine cleaning with this ghusl. Like the Jum'ah one, people are not going to do two. Like the Eid one, people are not going to do two. So I'm now giving an example of the Sunnah. So that first time after your hair's wet, you'd now wash your hair. Then the second time and third time, when you pour your water over yourself, that would be when your hair becomes clean. Likewise, now the body is now soaked, and you might want to add one more time water to wet the entire body. And then that is when you'd apply the soap. And then the second and the third time that you're pouring water would be then when you are actually pushing the soap away. And then you would obviously clean the rest of the body parts. And then you would wash your feet. That is if you were to stick strictly to the Sunnah. I believe it's permissible. And this is my advice to people who find it difficult. If they are in this situation where they have to clean themselves in that ghusl, to do the following. Here, a person is not technically starting the ghusl until later. And so therefore a person would come into the bathroom, needing to make ghusl. He would go to the toilet, for example. He would clean himself as per normal. He would then go into his bath and he would have a shower. He would have a shower however he wants. If he's washing his hair, washing his body, this, that, blah, blah, doing whatever he wants. Now he's actually finished. Do you understand? He's now finished from his shower. Then he stands there and he says to himself, Bismillah. He makes the intention now for the ghusl that he wants to make. Alright? He now says Bismillah. He now makes the intention for the ghusl that he wants to make. Then he starts with the acts of wudu. Yes? He does all of the wudu, and then when it comes to the wiping part of the head, instead of that, then he pours the water over his head 3 times. Then he washes his entire body with the water. And in a shower, what would this be? This would be literally to stand underneath the water, and then step back, and to stand underneath the water, step back, stand underneath the water, and step back. And then when it comes to the body, one would then stand, allow the water then to penetrate every part of a wet body already, wash the feet, job done. Did that make sense? Yes? That would be the other way of doing it if you are going to combine your normal cleansing shower with your obligatory ghusl shower. So there's 2 there. You're either going to stick to the Sunnah, which is the best way. What do I mean by sticking to the Sunnah? You are clean when you go into that bathroom. You don't need to use any soap or shampoo. You're just going to go in and you're just going to use your hands and water. And that ghusl is a spiritual bath. It's lifting a spiritual state of hadath. Remember, when you have to make ghusl for Eid and Jum'ah and for Janaba and Hayd and Nifas, it doesn't mean you're dirty. There's no necessary requirement that you're dirty. Even in Nifas and Hayd, today's products, the way that people keep themselves clean today, there's no idea that there's blood everywhere and whatever. It's not the case. So they would go in and it will be a ritualistic bath. So the issue is water being used. Alright? Whereas if someone wants to combine the 2 and they want to do that full kind of thingy, then my advice to them, is that they go into the bath, they actually clean themselves, they have their kind of normal shower, then they stop, they say Bismillah, and then they start making wudu in the shower, make wudu, face, arms, then let the water go over their head 3 times, then they wash the body, then they wash the feet. Now you've done a full ghusl. Okay, let's take some questions on that quickly. Yeah.
What about if we switch the whole process over
and
the sense that
you
do your ghusl first,
yes.
then you have a shower? Is that also
So Bob's saying, why don't you switch it around completely from istinja, go straight into the ghusl itself, do wudu, finish the ghusl with water, and then wash the feet. Then you have your own shower. What's the problem with that? The problem is that there are many scholars that traditionally did not like a person touching the private parts, and that they said that it breaks the wudu, etc., etc. So you fall into the risk of falling into that. Now, I just want to say that could technically apply in the first one as well, because you have already done wudu, and then you're going to then wash yourself. The reality is that it's going to be much less likely. Much less likely. When we were taught by our ulama on how to make ghusl, okay, when we're cleaning ourselves. So for example, it was very well known that some of the ulama, they considered any touching of the private parts would break the wudu. And so therefore, for example, when it comes to the private parts, in the thighs, we were told to wash like this, so that the hand does not touch the private part. So the hand is rubbing the thigh, and this would touch the private parts, okay, of the entire body, back side, front side. And therefore you are safe technically from touching. Now you know that the position of this class is that even if you do touch it with your hands and when there's no desire, it doesn't break the wudu. But I'm just saying this is the kind of matters you need to keep in account, and that's why I don't think it's such a good idea to have it the other way around. Wallahu alam, yeah.
What's the problem with the introduction of soap?
There's no problem. How does this fit though with the minimum use of water and a continuous process?
Yeah, but the Prophet
There's no evidence that he used any soap within these processes.
low trees and
Within these processes of al-ghusl. There's no evidence. We're not saying it's not allowed. But why is it that in this hadith and that hadith there's no mention of the tree, the leaf, any form of artificial soap?
Correct, but that's one of many ghusls that he did.
Correct.
And possibly one that he combined both.
Could possibly, which is why we are also allowing a person to use soap within the same standing.
So the introduction of soap with the water doesn't actually...
No problem at all. No problem at all. I gave you that scenario, isn't it? If you want to stick strictly to the sunnah and you want to say, I'm going to do my soap within, then yes, a person could, the first time he pours water on his head from the three, he could then apply his shampoo and he could do it. And when I told you about the pouring of the water over the body, we said to you that even 1 or 3 is sufficient. It doesn't have to be 3 times. You could actually clean your body with soap at that time and then allow then the water remaining to wash it off. I'm just saying this, that when we go back to the sunnah and we understand this arba'at amdad, it is very difficult to understand. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam using 4 of these to wash off not just his body, but soap of his body. So, أليس كذلك شيخ عبد الله شيخ الضفاء 4 of these to wash the self and soap off the body. صعب difficult. Last question.
The cleansing and then the ghusl.
Yeah.
Does it have to be 2 distinct, clear, different?
It doesn't. That's what Shazad is asking. The cleansing and the ghusl do not have to be 2 distinct, separate things. Not at all. And the proof of that is the statement that we said, what is sufficient for ghusl, covering the entire body with water. It doesn't matter what happens, how you do it. It's not wudu. This is ghusl, and ghusl is bigger. Any key questions outstanding online?
Just about the earrings.
Yeah, the earrings, like I said, they if they are covering a large skin, then they should be removed. If it's the one which is a ring, it does not need to be removed.
When you're in the shower, you're automatically washing the wudu parts as well. You specifically have to do the wudu actions.
The wudu actions?
Yeah.
Of course, what do you mean?
As in the wudu actions, you have to do them.
Wudu actions?
As in, when you're in the shower, you're automatically washing all the wudu parts as well. Do you specifically have to do the wudu actions in order? And then besides the mouth and nose.
Yeah, I mean, if saying to do a sunnah version, then yes, you would. But obviously, if you want to just focus on cleansing,
are we going to add our Sheikh Hanan's opinion right now? Or?
Tell everyone Sheikh Hanan's opinion.
Yeah, if you do ghusl that is not for the intention of janaba and possibly Jum'ah, then you have to do wudu as well at the end.
If you what, sorry?
If you're doing ghusl,
yeah,
the intention of ghusl, and it's not to alleviate the state of janaba specifically, and I think maybe Jum'ah he said as well, then basically the ghusl doesn't give you have to make wudu.
لا يجزئ عن الوضوء.
Yeah, you have to make wudu after.
If it is for just cleansing and cleaning, it's separate.
Even if you make the intention of ghusl.
Yeah. That's an opinion. We're going to come to that later, inshallah. Later on. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك اللهم وأتوب إليك. I'll see everyone online, Manchester, Friday for the men conferences, men.org.uk. I'll see you in London, myself and Sheikh Yasser on Saturday, and in Birmingham on Sunday, inshallah, daytime and evening. Jazakumullahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
أقيموا صفوفكم واعتدلوا. Just a quick announcement. Sister, there is a tilawah, so we make sujood, inshallah. Be aware. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. واذكر في الكتاب إسماعيل إنه كان صادق الوعد وكان رسولا نبيا وكان يأمر أهله بالصلاة والزكاة وكان عند ربه مرضيا واذكر في الكتاب إدريس إنه كان صديقا نبيا ورفعناه مكانا عليا أولئك الذين أنعم الله عليهم من النبيين من ذرية آدم وممن حملنا مع نوح ومن ذرية إبراهيم وإسرائيل وممن هدينا واجتبينا إذا تتلى عليهم آيات الرحمن خروا سجدا وبكيا الله أكبر. الله أكبر. فخلف من بعدهم خلف أضاعوا الصلاة واتبعوا الشهوات فسوف يلقون غيا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. فخلف من بعدهم خلف أضاعوا الصلاة واتبعوا الشهوات فسوف يلقون غيا إلا من تاب وآمن وعمل صالحا فأولئك يدخلون الجنة ولا يظلمون شيئا جنات عدن التي وعد الرحمن عباده بالغيب إنه كان وعده مأتيا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا إلا سلاما ولهم رزقهم فيها بكرة وعشيا تلك الجنة التي نورث من عبادنا من كان تقيا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.